Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome award-winning director Dawn Porter, Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the Recording Academy, in conversation with Nii Quartelai Quartey, journalist and author of Kamala, the Motherland and Me.
Hey, Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival. Did you all enjoy the movie? Did you enjoy the movie? I can't hear you up there. Did you enjoy it? How many 80s babies are in the audience? I can't hear you 80s babies. And how many folks
babies.
were busy making 80s babies? I see you. 70s babies, we welcome you too.
Thank you, thank you.
That's enough.
That's where we're stopping. That's it.
Don said stop right there. What a treat to be in conversation with Dawn Porter, the director of this beautiful film. And Ryan Butler from the Recording Academy. Let's give
I know.
Ryan a shout out here. So let's start with you, Dawn. Why Luther? Why now? And where did you start?
Only Luther. I had a meeting with Luther's family, his very close family, and I would love Miss Savita to stand up. Luther's niece is here this evening. She made this trip. Please celebrate, everybody. This family has very lovingly, curated and protected his legacy. I had the honor of meeting with them. I think many people had met with them and pitched them films. And I think, Savita would agree that we felt like this was the time. I met with Sony Pictures. Sony has been bringing forth a number of their artists. They have so many different musical artists. And so we had a meeting, and they said, is anybody here who you're interested in? And they got to Luther, and I said, Luther doesn't have a movie? That didn't seem possible. And so we just stopped right there. And so that was it for me. It was like love at first sight. And then I met with the family. What really works for this movie is having all that music. I watch this movie like a fan. I want to hear those songs. I want to sing those songs. So having the ability to let them play out, having the archive, having the estate images and rehearsal footage, like that Mariah, duet. So when you have all of those elements, you feel like you can do justice to a story. And if anybody deserves justice to his story being done, it's this man.
Amen.
So,
This man whose so many of his songs feel like the soundtrack of our lives. How did you narrow it down to the songs that we heard? Because this movie could have been 4 or 5 hours of us just in here jamming, right? So how did you decide to concentrate on the songs that we heard today?
I have a wonderful producer. Her name is Leah Smith. She's not here this evening, but she is the Luther superfan. So she kept us all honest about things. But really, I'm the director, so I get to pick. So these are like a number of my favorite songs. But we really could have. That was the hardest thing, is there were so many songs, and everybody has their favorite song, and everybody had so our composer is Robert Glasper.
Yes. Come on, Robert.
Can't go wrong there.
And so Leah said, I think Robert Glasper should do the music to this movie. And I was like, I want to wear a bikini, and that's not going to happen either. And she was like, nope. And so I don't know how she even got his contact information, but she did. And he said yes right away.
Oh, amazing.
And so, and I do want to tell you how he did the composition. I've worked with very many composers. I've been very lucky about that. So Robert had us come to his studio, and we watched the movie together without, tracks. And then we would stop at a place where we needed composition. And he would say, so tell me about this scene. What do you want to feel like here? And I would say, well, here it's a little tense, but not like scary. And he would play something. And he would say, like this? And I'd be like, no, a little scarier. And he would be like, oh, like this? And I'd be like, yes, that's it. And then he had 4 musicians, and they would go and play music. And that's how we scored the whole movie. We watched scene by scene by scene. He is literally a genius.
Yes.
And so we got the temp, and then he went and live recorded with a full band all of the music. But so it was Robert Glasper. We didn't have So Amazing in here, which I know seems crazy, and you're all going to be like ashamed of me.
Never.
And he literally was like, "We're So Amazing. You cannot release this without So Amazing." So we made it the end song and really did a whole tribute thing, because this man's life was so joyous and so creative and so loving. You don't want to end on the sadness. You want to end on the joy that he bring to all of us. So that felt like really perfect.
All right. Ryan, speaking of recording,
Yes.
so let's talk about some of the work that is afoot over at the Recording Academy, beyond the in memoriam
Yes.
section of the Grammys that we all see.
Which we don't get right. I already know.
Well, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I wasn't going to bring it up.
I know.
But beyond in memoriam at the Grammys, tell us about some of the innovative ways that you're keeping the legacy of folks like Luther alive at the Recording Academy.
In 2020, a group of us at the Recording Academy got together and we created the Black Music Collective. And so the Black Music Collective is really about honoring and celebrating the contributions of Black creators. We have one of our honorary chairs in the audience, Jeff Harrelson from Universal. And so I think, I say this all the time that, there is no American pop music that is not a derivative of the Negro spiritual. And so all music is Black music. And so I think that it's really, really important to have these types of films and to be doing the work that we're doing and for it to go side by side. Because as soon as I saw the film, I thought, what if the Black Music Collective existed when Luther was here? Would he have been nominated 9 times before he won, or would he have enough Black voters in the membership? Because when I got here, when I arrived at the Grammys, Black representation and voting membership was around 9%, which is indexing lower than US Census data. We set an aggressive goal for 33%, and we're at 22%, which makes a huge difference on our stage, because the performers are pulled from the nominees, and the nominees have to be voted on. And so everything that we're doing really changes the full dynamic. And so I just think that it's really, really amazing. The Grammy storyline is what pulled me in, right? The 9 times, and me thinking about how hard he was working and how it did not deter him, that he just kept going. And as Jamie Foxx pointed out, the music just kept getting better and better. And so, I think about that. Or that he even started off writing jingles and, and as a producer and as a songwriter and a session musician, just to think about like how long it even took him to be signed to a major label was like really kind of inspiring to me, that he just kept his ground.
I just want to pick up on a thread here. I think a number of folks think that when people win Grammys, they just win Grammys because of their talent.
Yeah.
Talk to us about how the campaign for the Grammys have changed over the years since Luther, because, his response was, hey, I'm just going to lean in, I'm going to get better and better and put out, album after album. These days, it's not just about putting out albums, it's more to that.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's definitely not about putting out albums, and I want to be clear that we have 25,000 members of the Recording Academy, 11,000 voting members. So a lot of times it's the Grammys, and they think, it's the staff that we're sitting around, or that we're just asking the industry, who do you think should be winning, right? But it's really the 11,000 members who have to have at least 12 credits, a professional profile, right? They are technically proficient in making music, right? They're the ones who are voting. But I do think, labels do come in and they do Grammy campaigns, right? And so you often think, and I know that there's somebody who hasn't been nominated or hasn't won Album of the Year, and I know that that's the elephant in the room. I'm not going to get in trouble, but I will say.
We're the single ladies.
But I will say, I would go back and look at the campaign that label put out and which artist they really promoted in their campaign. And I'm not saying that it is, again, I'm not trying to get the Grammys out of it. I'm just saying that there are many parts at play. And I think that Luther brought up, I think he alluded to it when they were talking about how he wanted to cross over, how he didn't want to just be known as a black artist making black music, but he wanted to be a pop artist. He wanted to be an artist that, was played on mainstream radio.
And speaking of artists, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Ledisi wanted to be here.
She did wanted to be.
But the weather and the airlines would not let her be great. Yeah. And so she is with us tonight in spirit. And so just wanted to give Ledisi a shout out. She sent
a long block text for me to read, which I don't know if I'll get to, but
we'll make sure you get to that.
Sorry. She's very, very sorry that she's not here.
Yes, but you two are here. Don, talk to us about the decision to feature Luther the leader on the table, or on the film. We're so used to Luther the vocalist, Luther the legend, but we had a chance to see him sort of lead with his team and really put people on and invest so much more back into the production. This was, what was that? Oh, I thought somebody said something. Yeah. I thought that was pretty incredible, and we don't always see our legends as leaders until now.
Well, I think who's telling the story matters.
Yeah.
What are we looking for in our artists? And I think it's the case with a lot of black people that, we're a musical people. Like, it's easy to do what he did. And even with his God-given talent, he still had to work so hard. So it was very, very important to me to show his intelligence, his agency, his creativity, as well as his leadership. That is all part of what made him, there are many, many great vocalist. It's not just being a vocalist. It's being, like Fonzie says so many times, like he had a vision from the beginning of who he could be. The other thing that's important is, for so many artists in the black community, they came from the projects and they were saved by the music. That's not Luther's story. And that's why it's so important that Fonzie said Luther was a boss from the beginning. He had a loving family that supported him, and he believed in himself, and he surrounded himself with people who also believed in him. His friends from when he was young continued with him all throughout. So I think it's important that we highlight all, our 360 selves. And that's part of what it just jumped out from. If you watch the footage and you listen to the stories and you watch his interviews, it's all right there. You just have to push it forward.
Talk to us about how you decided to feature the conversation about his identity in its fullness on the screen, doing it in a way doing it with integrity, doing it with love, doing it with compassion, but doing it honestly. Talk to us about how you went about doing that with the support of his family.
Well, everybody here probably reads Jet magazine, and we all, or People magazine, and there was so much chatter and conversation because he was singing about love, about where is Luther's love, where is that person? And so, we wanted to, and you see it from the very beginning, like what I wanted to do is let Luther tell his story. As a documentary filmmaker, my job is to tell truth, but to also honor your subject, and that's particularly important when the subject's not here. And so, we edited that scene many times and really thought about and that's why it felt right to end it with what Fonzie says. I'm going to let him tell you. And when you let him tell you, he says what he wants to say. And the fact that you are a genius and you are a wonderful performer, you still get to have your personal life and you still get to have your choices. So that's not my choice or your choice or your choice. It's his choice. And
Right.
part of respecting choice is to respect the choices that people make. And so that's kind of where we ended up. Let him have his choice.
Ryan, for you as a Black openly gay man who is a boss at the Recording Academy, who's really helped to advance the work around diversity, equity, and inclusion, talk to us about what impact this part of his storyline has had in terms of how you approach your work at the Recording Academy.
Well, last Grammy week, we launched Academy Proud, which is, what we call a membership resource group for LGBTQ artists, creators, professionals, so that they also have a safe space, right? I think that a lot of times the Academy felt unapproachable, right? It felt like it was a castle on top of a hill behind the gate, and there was no way for you to even get over the moat or through the forest because the knights would have gotten you, right? And so I think what I really do as, leader of our diversity efforts is come out of the castle and go into the communities where people are. And I think for me, what really struck me about this is that in June, because we get a lot of calls to be on a lot of panels when you're openly gay in June. I decided that I'm no longer coming out because I don't think that people realize that coming out is a perpetual thing, right? That you come out every time you meet someone, every time you start a new job, every time, right? You're always and continuously coming out. And I kind of loved his stance, whether I'm not even determining whether he was saying he was or he wasn't, but that it's really mind your fucking business. And that I've now decided that I let people in, right? That I don't have to come out. If I feel that you are worthy of being in my energy and worthy of being close to me, I let you in. And I feel like that's what he was saying. Like anyone who needs to know anything about me, they know it.
I know.
And I don't have to have a conversation about it. I think that should stand today.
I will say, though, don't we all wish Luther lived now?
Yes.
Don't
Yes.
we wish Luther lived now? I wish he had lived to see, where our society has gotten to. And, we're not thinking about, that was 1990s, that was in the age of AIDS. There's so much discrimination, so much homophobia. And he was already fighting so many things. So I just, watching all of his interviews, like reliving all of his songs, like I feel so much like I know him now, and I wish so goodness to gracious that he could see so many wonderful things that have happened. So,
Yeah, agreed.
Especially when he when we learned about his health, that Luther was living with diabetes, and I really loved how you ended the movie, particularly with the interview with Jamie Foxx, where it was sort of a moment for us all to sort of sit back and think, all this talk about, do you love Big Luther or Little Luther, right? Did you ever really think that, like, how that made him feel? Right? It wasn't until that scene in the movie where I thought, oh, this thing that had become sort of a pop culture sort of, fun thing might have actually created harm.
he's a person, and that was certainly true then, and it's even truer on steroids now. And so, pretty much this movie has, joyfully traveled the festival circuit. We premiered at Sundance. We have been in 23 festivals to date. But this is, and I really want to thank you all for being here and staying for the conversation. This is the place where I wanted to be, to share this with you. Like from the very first minute, you all were singing and dancing and recognizing Don Cornelius's voice. And, so all of this is for you. It really is for you. So I really appreciate you. I forgot what I was saying.
It happens.
You were offering us some love.
Yes.
And it was received. It was received. before we close out, I want to give both of you an opportunity to share what's that one thing about Luther's legacy that you hope that we will never forget. You've given us so much to digest, so much to enjoy. What's the one thing that you don't want us to forget about his legacy?
For me, I think in the age of TikTok artists, right, that we have to give up instant gratification, right? That he was willing to do the work, he was willing to be told no, and I'm not saying that all of those barriers should have been in place and that he shouldn't have had more access. I'm saying two things can be true at once. You still have to work hard and persevere and overcome obstacles and keep going and stay true to your vision. And I think more than anything, that's what inspired me as a leader, as a Black man, that he stayed true to his vision and did not, do it the way they wanted him to do it. He did it the way that he wanted to do it.
Dawn?
I think that's so well said. I think that really captures everything that I was trying to accomplish with this. And the people who we featured in the film, Dionne Warwick, Valerie Simpson, they were close with him. His high school friends, his backup singers, they really knew him, Savita, like who he was, except for Jamie, who just was like a super fan. Jamie Foxx is a producer on this movie. And I had the joy of going to Jamie's house. Jamie's a movie star. He has a house with horses and 40 acres and columns. And when I walked into his house, which is an open air living room with a picture of Biggie and Tupac in it, and I walk in and he's playing Luther and he just starts dancing. And then, we sat down to do the conversation. I don't even think I got a question out. And he just started going. And through it, he did an imitation of Kanye, Drake, and, just like, I was like, I don't know what this has to do with the movie, but but what comes through is he is a super fan.
Super fan.
And so when you have people at the top of their game who could do anything, Mariah Carey, she was recording her Christmas special. That's why she's in gold. And, but they made time. And we could have filled the movie with spectacular artists celebrating him. And, one thing, I think the thing I would like you all to take from this movie, it is certainly a celebration of Luther. It's his story. I love when people find out things they didn't know and new people come to love him, but it's also a celebration of Black music.
Yes.
And that is why I have Dionne Warwick, gorgeous, in the south of France in a bathing suit. I know when my editor, he was like, what does this have to do with the price of tea? And I'm like, I just really like that shot of her.
So did we.
So did we. We loved it.
But you see, Luther was so clear about honoring Black women and their vocals and how that influenced him. And so, that when I say this is for you, it is really for you because it is a celebration of him. It is a celebration of Black artists, Black talent, and how much we have achieved and how much we can support and love each other and celebrate together. So
Amazing.
That's beautiful. So this was a treat for all of us. We all had a chance to be among the 23 film festivals, you said, that have had a chance to see this film. Where can the masses see the film, and when can they see it?
So I'm very excited to share that this will be in theaters across the country.
Ooh.
So please tell your friends, please come out. You know how they undercount us and underestimate us. There'll be, I think it's about 100 theaters across the country starting in October.
Oh, Luther watch parties. Luther watch party.
And then CNN Films, which had been on hiatus, this is one of the 2 films that they are relaunching with. So it'll be on in the early 2025 on CNN Films.
Amazing.
Across the country and around the world. Thank you to Dawn Porter, the director of Luther, Never Too Much. Ryan Butler over at the Recording Academy. And at the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival. Let's give them a hand.
Thank you, Floyd. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Nii Quartelai Quartey. Thanks so much. Have a good evening.